Today's arrest of a judge marks the second such case in the last 24 hours. A former New Mexico judge and his wife were taken into custody yesterday. Federal agents arresting them for harboring a suspected Tren De Aragua gang member.
What?
Flashback.
Former top-level staffer at AOC's congressional office has deported back to Colombia.
What?
AOC was employing a criminal alien in her congressional office. How's that even legal?
Holman was upset, I suppose, because he felt that you were giving advice to people who were here illegally. Mm-hmm. Were you?
I was giving advice to all of my constituents.
A few moments later.
AOC aide in the U.S. illegally self-deports to Colombia. Say what? She employed an illegal immigrant? That's a crime, isn't it?
That is I feel crime. Like.
Well, hold on. I gotta get the context here. What's going on? An aide to AOC self-deported after being in the U.S. illegally. Diego de la Vega said he has freedom of movement in Colombia now after he overstayed his visa in the U.S. Okay, so overstayed visa. Did she hire him when he was allowed to work here? What's going on?
So out of curiosity, I wanted to see what the fine was for hiring an undocumented, unauthorized worker. So the maximum fine per worker is $3,000. AOC ain't gonna mind paying $3,000. Trust on that. She done pilfered enough money from the federal government, and with this whole Ukraine money laundering scheme, potential criminal penalty is an imprisonment up to 6 months for repeated violations. So we need to know, how many people, illegals, does she have working on her campaign, working for her? And the relevant law, for those of you who are going to question all this, and you libertarians from the Communist Party who are going to come over here and try to community note this, the relevant law is the Immigration Reform and Control Act. Deal with it. AOC, you got yourself in a little trouble. I hope you don't have more illegals in your fold.
My job is to educate and act as a liaison of critical information to my constituents. And I was informing all of my constituents of their constitutional protections, and in particular, their constitutional protections against illegal search and seizure in the United States.
I'm going to pause that. Do illegal aliens have a constitutional right? JR,
no.
Real quick here. What do you
Absolutely not. But I think where AOC gets it wrong fundamentally, her job is to educate no one. Her job is to represent the will of the people that have elected her. She's a member of the House of Representatives. And, you know, DC's Hollywood for ugly people, right? And AOC may be one of the prettiest women in the House, but she's no LA A-lister.
Well, at least she's still learning how to use the garbage disposal. I think at last we checked, she has actually learned how to use it, and we're really proud of AOC over here. And you know, we just hope that everything works out the next time she has to dispose of something, especially like the truth that she continues to grind up every day. Let's keep going with this clip here. We got more. Let's see what she has.
And they got rid of George Santos.
Oh, Santos.
Holman was upset, I suppose, because he felt that you were giving advice to people who were here illegally. Mm-hmm. Were you?
I was giving advice to all of my constituents. Yeah.
He said he was going to report you, or even that he did reach out to the Department of Justice. Have you heard from the Department of Justice?
Okay. I got to pause again, because are illegal aliens part of the constituency?
No. Well, I mean, in the minds of a Democrat, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, their entire aim was to open the border, flood, and get us to a position where the federal government was offering amnesty because we couldn't manage the deportations. Trump and Homan show them how that's done.
Yeah. Let's keep going. Let's see what more dribble she spills.
Not, and I intend on reaching out to the Department of Justice to inquire.
Really? What would your question be for the Department of Justice?
Well, there is a member of the Trump administration who is threatening and seeks to open an inquiry, and are you going to do it?
What would you learn? What do you hope to learn from that exchange?
I think it's important to know where this administration stands and if they intend on using political intimidation to silence their critics.
Yeah, I don't know. I think she's pregnant. What do you think, JR? Have you heard that?
Yeah.
I think she's pregnant.
Probably.
Yeah.
I don't. She knows who the dad is, but look, I think this is just.
She's pregnant with lies.
This is such intellectual dishonesty. But this is what comes out of their mouths. Tomhoman is not threatening, political injustice. He's making a recommendation to the Department of Justice, the arbiter of law, and it is up to them to determine whether or not she's breaking the law. Now, I would propose that a congresswoman calling the Department of Justice and inquiring on whether or not an investigation is being opened on them would be a little bit intimidating, rather than the other way around.
Well, it's almost as if she thinks she's doing something wrong.
Meanwhile,
we're sending a very strong message today. If you are harboring a fugitive, we don't care who you are. If you are helping hide one, if you are giving a TDA member guns, anyone who is illegally in this country, we will come after you and we will prosecute you.
Today's arrest of a judge marks the second such case in the last 24 hours. A former New Mexico judge and his wife were taken into custody yesterday. Federal agents arresting them for harboring a suspected Tren De Aragua gang member.
What?
In their guest house.
For more on all of this, we are honored to have in the new U.S. Attorney General, Pam Bondi. It's good to talk to you, Pam.
Good to talk to you.
So let me read a little bit from the criminal complaint here. Judge Dugan says, despite having been advised of the administrative warrant for the arrest of Flores Ruiz, Judge Dugan then escorted Flores Ruiz and his counsel out of the courtroom through the jury door, which leads to a non-public area of the courthouse. A foot chase ensued. The agents pursued Flores Ruiz for the entire length of the courthouse and ultimately apprehended him. According to this complaint, Judge Dugan was visibly angry that ICE was there to arrest Flores Ruiz, even tried to kick the deportation agents out of the courthouse.
Yeah, and to set the stage for you and Sandra, this was truly horrific. This guy was in court being prosecuted by a state prosecutor for domestic violence battery. He had beat up two people, a guy and a girl, hit the guy 30 times, knocked him to the ground, choked him, beat up a woman so badly they both had to go to the hospital. And John, it's so rare for victims to want to cooperate. They wanted to cooperate. They were sitting in the courtroom with the state prosecutor. The judge learns that ICE was outside to get the guy because he had been deported in 2013, came back in our country, commits these crimes, charged with committing these crimes, victims in court. Judge finds out. She goes out in the hallway, screams at the immigration officers. She's furious, visibly shaken, upset, sends them off to talk to the chief judge. She comes back in the courtroom. You're not going to believe this. Takes the defendant and the defense attorney back in her chambers, takes them out a private exit and tells them to leave.
What?
Madam Attorney General, great to have you here, and thanks for coming back on America Report. So we remember these words of tomhoman, the border czar. This was March 17th, and his message on these judges who apparently are trying to get in the way of this administration's efforts. Listen.
I'm proud to be a part of this administration. We're not stopping. I don't care what the judges think. I don't care what the left thinks. We're coming.
So when you see these judges trying to obstruct your efforts to make this country safer, what is your message to them?
we are going to prosecute you, and we are prosecuting you. I found out about this the day it happened. We could not believe, actually, that a judge really did that. We looked into the facts in great depth. That's her picture up on the screen, Hannah Dugan, who is now in custody. You cannot obstruct a criminal case, and really, shame on her. It was a domestic violence case of all cases, and she's protecting a criminal defendant over victims of crime.
In fact, she just had an initial appearance in court. There's also this other case coming out of New Mexico. Judge Joel Cano and his wife were arrested for harboring a TDA member at their home.
What?
Now, he and his wife were picked up and arrested. And you say that you believe, as the Attorney General, that the person that they were having living at their home was a truly potentially bad individual.
Yeah, that's the judge up on the screen now who got arrested. Yeah, his name is Ortega. He was is a known TDA member, So he comes through Eagle Pass December 2023. He's living in our country. January 2025, ICE, they get a tip. Tomhoman's done a great job. Our FBI did a great job on this case, too. They get a tip that he is living with a judge and the judge's wife.
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
So they have him arrested first on immigration charges. A Judge Damian Martinez releases him, saying that Judge Cano has a good BS meter and wouldn't let just anyone live on his property.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at...
A bullshit? A bullshit? A bullshit. A bullshit.
The associations with this violent Venezuelan gang, Tren De Aragua, and this person that they harbored in their home, he was showing signs through clothing, we were told, tattoos. There was evidence through voice messages and text messages of his association to TDA. So what charges will Cano and his wife face, if any?
So Judge Cano, soon to be former Judge Cano, his charges were just unsealed. He's charged with obstruction. He admitted post Miranda. He took one of the TDA members' cell phones himself, took it, beat it with a hammer, destroyed it, and then walked the pieces to a city dumpster to dispose of it to protect him. The wife also is charged with destroying evidence. Sandra, not only that, this TDA member, and he had on a necklace that said kill, something about death. He had tattoos all over him. He also had on his cell phone pictures of two decapitated victims, victims, decapitated, gruesome photos, and he was sending them out, and whoever he was sending them to was sending back saying, hey, you need to be careful. You shouldn't be sending these. You shouldn't be texting these photos out. Not only that, these two, the judge and his wife, gave him assault rifles that belonged to their daughter. That's what they're charged with. In the criminal report affidavit, he goes to a shooting range with these assault rifles, with a suppressor, with other known TDA members, and they're shooting. This is the last person that we want in our country, nor will we ever tolerate a judge or anyone else harboring them.
Meanwhile, they told me there was a horrible incident. My son and his girlfriend, Anya, basically were burned alive in their car.
She was my daughter. He said, Anya's name. I said, yes, it's my daughter. My wife came downstairs and she was screaming and crying. She said, no, 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 no.
We brought you this story yesterday. An update now. Today on the heartbreaking story about an illegal immigrant convicted in a DUI crash that killed 2 teenagers 3 years ago. Now set for an early release from prison in California. Maybe. The Trump administration heard about it. It's now pursuing felony immigration charges against him. My next guest says he faces up to 20 years in federal prison if convicted. Bill Asaley is the U.S. Attorney for the Central District of California. Bill, good morning to you. Thank you for your time. Governor Newsom apparently is waving in the feds on this as well. Let me read you part of his statement and you can react to it. He says, after being deported in 2013, this individual unlawfully re-entered the U.S. and committed heinous crimes. A GOP DA then gave him a plea deal instead of pursuing second-degree murder. CDCR, which is the California Department of Correction and Rehabilitation, will again coordinate with ICE as they have with 10,000 plus inmates to transfer him before release. What is your take on this now as it stands at the moment, Bill? Go ahead.
I think it's completely shameful for the governor to try to deflect on this. This individual, who is a criminal illegal alien who killed 2 innocent teenagers, was sentenced to a 10-year state prison term. And sentence was delivered by the judge in Orange County. He's only 3 years into his sentence, and the prison is releasing him. The prison is operated by the governor. Governor Newsom is solely responsible for operating the prison and allowing his release. But this is the name of the game in California. They've been releasing prisoners for a decade. We have half as many prisoners in California as we did a decade ago. And this is the policy up in Sacramento. So it's just unconscionable for him to deflect like this.
Yeah, tomhoman was with us yesterday. We asked him about it on our program here. Watch.
And I guarantee you, if they don't honor a detainer, we have ICE agents outside that facility to take custody of this individual and deport him. He's been deported several times, which means he's a felon. We're trying to remove these public safety threats and national security threats as quick as possible. They're putting every roadblock imaginable in front of us to prevent us from doing that.
Bill, the way I said, this is one of these worst case situations with illegals. Multiple illegal entrants that resulted in the death of an American citizen.
This is what happens when you have an open border policy like we did in the prior administration. But those days are over. Under this administration, our borders are closed, and I've made it a top priority in my office, and I know throughout the United States, to enforce our immigration laws. So this defendant, he's not going to get free. He's not going to be deported. He's coming to my jurisdiction, and we're going to prosecute him. And once he's convicted, he's going to spend many years in federal prison, and then he'll be deported again.
You heard the criticism that the governor had toward the judge. This Pew survey that came out a few weeks ago, just read it here. The percentage of those who say they're confident in the judges in the United States federal courts. Here's what we found. 44% not to or not at all. 39% said somewhat. What's that tell us about the rule of law in America and a measure of confidence?
Well, I think that probably has more to do with these judges granting injunctions nationwide every time the president tries to enact a mandate that the American people asked him to do. That's probably coming more from that than anything else. But also in California, they've appointed a lot of liberal judges who are just very light on sentencing, and the governor appoints most of those judges. So again, to the extent he's critical of anything that happens in the state of California, he's the governor and he's at the helm. So he needs to point that blame at himself.
Yeah. Madam Attorney General, come back to the Wisconsin case and Judge Hannah Dugan, because in allegedly letting the perpetrator and the attorney out through a non-public exit and allowed them to get out in front of the building, we had a situation where we've seen that I know tomhoman was complaining about in Colorado, where there would be no transfer of a defendant from a jail to ICE custody on a detainer request in a way that was orderly and protected public safety. They would dump them off in a parking lot, and then ICE would have to chase them around with the DEA or whatever, or FBI, and pick them up. This ended up in a foot chase in public sight. It says here, a foot chase ensued. The agents, and this was a DEA agent and an FBI agent, pursued Flores Ruiz for the entire length of the courthouse, ultimately apprehended him near the intersection of West State Street and 10th Street. So the judge apparently has created a situation here where you have a public foot chase. And we all know that, well, sometimes they can come off without incident. They can also turn into very dangerous situations.
John, that's exactly right. She put the lives of our law enforcement officers at risk. She put the lives of citizens at risk. A street chase, which is absurd that had to happen. But yes, she put a lot of people in danger. That judge did it. So did the other judge. Judge Cano is charged with. They were allegedly giving him assault rifles, AK-47s, AR-15s, with a suppressor, a known TDA member, letting him go to a shooting range to refine and perfect his shooting skills.
Oh, hell no!
What's happened to our judiciary is beyond me.
Yeah, so when the American public hears this and they think these were once upstanding people in their communities and their professions, and they put it all on the line for this. I mean, have you dug into their motive? Like, what inspired them to carry out these acts and harbor criminals?
They're deranged is all I can think of. I cannot believe, I think some of these judges think they are beyond and above the law, and they are not. And we're sending a very strong message today. If you are harboring a fugitive, we don't care who you are. If you are helping hide one, if you are giving a TDA member guns, anyone who is illegally in this country, we will come after you and we will prosecute you.
Boom. Bam, bop, bada bop, boom, pow.